What's the goal of Checkmate Rentals, and what's the goal of like Chad Phillis as an entrepreneur?
So when I first started Checkmate Rentals, when I knew I wanted to start a business ever since I graduated college, the goal was financial freedom and time freedom. Being able to spend what I want on what I want when I want, essentially having nobody tell me what to do and what I can't do. That was the goal.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the YEN podcast. YEN stands for Young Entrepreneur Network. What we're doing is creating a community of young entrepreneurs where I'll be interviewing. And my name is Matt Chute. And today we have Chad Phillis, owner and founder of Checkmate Rentals. So Chad, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you having me on, man. Good friends. We met each other in a networking group, and he does some work for my church, doing social media stuff. So, and he's filmed, videos of me on my website, and they're awesome. So, really appreciate it. And
thanks, Chad.
I think you're doing a really cool thing here.
Thank you.
So, but so I started my business back in peak COVID time. It was pretty crazy. So, I started out my career in insurance. I was an insurance agent working with my dad. And I still do that, by the way. It's pretty good. But realized it's not exactly what I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to own my own business, and I just didn't know what it was going to be. So I started tons of different little e-com businesses and whatever else. You can, you name it, I probably tried it. YouTube, faceless YouTube channels, all this stuff. And nothing was really sticking because I didn't have the capital to fund any of these business ideas. And, they were good ideas, and they'd work if someone had, investors or people to do it. But I didn't have that. Or I just didn't have the resources, of connections of people to figure out how to get that.
Yeah.
So, I had, another marketing job selling marketing services. And then I got a job with a company that was a startup company, and they did short-term rental property management. So I was like, okay, this is cool. I was with them for about a year, and was doing really well. And they tasked me with building out their operations nationwide. So they had all their properties in New York City.
Gotcha.
Like 200. At the time. And so what I did was I went and built out the local operations in all these different markets. So cleaning teams, maintenance teams, errand runners, setting up these operations in these different areas so that we could bring on properties everywhere instead of just in New York. And so I did a really good job at that. And then, I was also essentially like their head of sales, and I started bringing on, a lot of clients because, in a startup business, people wear many hats. So I was wearing a lot of different hats in that business. I started bringing on clients. It was really good. I was getting married in a month. I think this was back in March of 2020 or February. It was in February. And then the bad news hit, right? So COVID, full bloom, craziness, pandemic. And, because they had all their properties in New York, they went bankrupt or they shut down. I don't know technically what happened with them, but all I know is that they let go of everybody and they stopped doing business. So, so I lost my job. I'm getting married. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? I need money to pay rent or buy a house and it was a crazy time. And I had some people reach out to me that I signed up. And they said, hey, that sucks. What happened to the company? We're sorry to hear that, but we still need your help. Because places were still renting like really good, especially those like remote ones,
Gotcha.
The getaway type places. And so I was like, you know what? I think I know a better way to do this. Because I learned a lot from working with them and seeing what other big companies were doing of what I did not want to do. And, what hosts like and what they don't like, because I was talking to them. And, so I said, I can do this a better way. So we started out with a couple clients, and it really just took off from there. Bootstrapped the whole thing, didn't take on any capital. And, now we're managing over 100 properties all over the country.
That's awesome. Is there a specific state that you have the most like rental properties in?
Yeah. So I would say the state that has the most is probably South Carolina.
Gotcha.
We have a real nice base of properties in Myrtle Beach. I don't know how it kind of blew up there. I always vacation there. I love Myrtle Beach. My family always goes there. My sister-in-law lives there now. So yeah, I think it really just bloomed there. I know we have probably 30 properties down in Myrtle.
Gotcha.
But we truly are spread out. I think we're in 30 states out of the 50. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Taking over.
yep, absolutely. One state at a time.
So I'm going to back up a little bit to something you said towards the beginning, how I feel like we kind of have a similar story where I started and did a bunch of businesses, and then eventually I got to like marketing, doing Omni. So I guess my question is, you were talking about a lot of those other ventures that you were going after and that you started, you lacked the capital. So what was different from that time to Checkmate Rentals?
I think partly it was the business model, right? So different business models require different things when it comes to startup.
Yep.
So a service-based business requires normally little startup,
Exactly.
right? Because it's you putting in the sweat equity, if you will, to earn the money. You don't need to buy for example, for e-com, a products-based business, you need capital to buy products up front.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on what type of e-com, right? Because you could do drop shipping where you might not need that as much. But with a service-based business, you can really start with nothing and no investors and kind of build it to a larger place, quicker.
Yeah, for sure.
That's now a lot of people, there's a lot of back and forth on what's better and what's more scalable.
Yeah.
Obviously product-based businesses are probably more scalable faster, because whenever I'm scaling, I have to hire employees, and big costs to scale. But if you're just trying to start out
Yep.
and be profitable and make money quick, I think that it's better.
Yeah, for sure.
Service-based business.
I agree with that for sure. And so before you have equity, you have sweat equity. That's all you have. That's what you got to use. That's the resource you got to tap into for sure. So when you were basically running the other rental company that you were working for pre-COVID, you said you had a bunch of different teams and things like that you were managing. So what does like the operations behind Checkmate Rentals look like now? Like, do you have different teams? I'm sure you have like a bunch of like cleaners, things like that. So I think it'd be beneficial if you like dove a little bit into that, and maybe even how like you develop those teams. Cause obviously we're in Pennsylvania right now, Beaver County, small town, and a lot, like you said, most years in South Carolina. So how did you go about developing the teams that you do have?
I guess I can start. So there's two separate types of teams, right, in my business. So I do have employees that you can call them employees, contractors that work for me and only for me. And then we have the local teams, which are not employees of ours. And that's another, because then that would really have prevented me from scaling.
Yeah.
Being able to actually hire my own cleaning person, or maintenance person in these different areas, that's a lot, right? So what we did was I went to, just found some of these companies that were already really good at what they do.
Gotcha.
Right. So they're more so partners in what we're doing. So I know what a good cleaning company and a good maintenance person should do for a short-term rental, because I was in the weeds of it with that other company.
Yeah.
So I would call them and they would already have a good track record, and I would, train them up on our standards and our processes and our procedures. Like, hey, this is the software we use. This is the checklist, the basic checklist that you should follow when doing this. So leading them is a little bit different than actually leading my own team.
Yeah.
So there's two different types of leadership styles
For sure.
here.
That makes sense.
And the one is kind of like, hey, you're the professional of cleaning and maintenance. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but I'm going to tell you what we expect.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, we kind of go about it that way with our partners
Yeah.
in the local areas. And, for our internal team, because I also bootstrap, didn't have all this money to hire United States
Yep.
employees. What I did, and the reason I found out about this is because one of my past businesses that I started, I hired, I think it was actually a video editor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
from the Philippines.
Yep.
And sort of did a, labor arbitrage, if you will, when it comes to getting really good quality work for, and having to pay out less United States money. Mm-hmm. And I'm not recommending paying anyone very small wages or anything like that. The nice thing about it is in the Philippines, $500 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
The average doctor sometimes barely makes that much over there.
Yeah, 100%.
So, being able to provide and help them
Yep.
and make them some of the more wealthy people in their country, is fulfilling in itself, but it also helped me to start without taking on all this risk
Yeah, for sure.
of bringing on outside capital. So I now have a team of around 15 Filipino contractors.
Yeah.
They work for me and only for me.
That's awesome. And we actually do the same thing in our business. We have several people that are from overseas that help us with a lot of our projects, things like that. So very similar to what you're talking about. And like you said, that's kind of the mindset I had on it too. Yeah. It's like I looked at, so we have people in India that help us a lot on some of the projects, and to look at what the US dollar translates to there, it's actually like, it's honestly, it's like a blessing to them too, because they're getting paid more and they're doing remote work, things like that. So I think it's a very special thing that we get to do because of technology. Honestly, like this is something that I would imagine like 20 years ago, that'd be like unheard of. So like technology has brought us to a place where, like you said, we can create these systems very economically, but without shorting anyone.
Exactly. And, with the pandemic too, like there's just so many people in our country that don't want to work.
Yeah, it's true.
And when they do work, they expect to be paid big dollars and provide a poor effort.
Yeah, exactly.
in what they're doing. And that's not the mindset over there in the Philippines or, like you said, India. Like there's, if you find the right people in the right area, they can do amazing work.
For sure.
And they're family now.
Yeah.
Like they've been with me some of them have been with me for 4 years.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Ever since the beginning. And at first I could only pay, when I had 2 properties, I could only pay who's now my operations manager.
Yeah.
I could only pay her $200 a month.
Yeah.
That's all I could pay her.
Yeah.
And at that time, she just lost her job. So she took it. And, now we're paying her almost like a healthy United States salary.
Yep. That's awesome.
When she started at 200.
Yeah.
And I told her, please, April, please stick it out with me.
Yeah.
Like, I need awesome. You. We can do this.
Yeah.
And she did. And now, I've been able to help her pay for all 5 of her children to go through college.
That's awesome.
Completely funded their tuitions.
That's so cool.
With, a normal, a really good salary.
Yeah.
For over there.
Yeah.
So it's fulfilling. And, but I would recommend that to anybody who's trying to start up and not on capital. Figure out ways to, essentially find good people in different areas who are willing to work and put in a great effort.
Yep, 100%.
For whatever price you need to, and that's really what helped me to get going and to scale.
Yeah, that's awesome. And technology has allowed us really to like operate like bigger businesses, they're in the business of whatever they're selling, whatever product or service they're offering. But the big hurdle for like the big businesses is recruiting and getting the talent and maintaining and retaining that talent. So it's like technology has allowed the littler guys, the smaller businesses, to kind of create those same type of systems where we can recruit at an affordable rate. So I feel like it's just helped, like us personally, it's helped us scale tremendously. Obviously it's helped you guys scale tremendously. So it's really like I don't know. I kind of want to tie in like our area. So us being in Beaver County, I feel like that's probably something like not a lot of people even know about, to be honest. Like people don't even know that you can like get people from other countries to like help you with your business. And like these people are like working like probably better than half of the people you'll find here for 25, 30, $50 an hour. It's like they're working at a lower rate only because the US dollar translates so much higher, but they're putting in so much more effort and so much more work than what you would receive from someone that comes into the office and just works 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so true. I actually brought up an idea. I started, back when I only had like a couple properties, because I didn't know which business model was going to stick. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I started a virtual assistant business.
Oh, nice.
Like just part-time, like, you know, hey, do you need help with, you know, cold calling for your business, or following up with sales calls, or emailing, or prospecting, or data entry, you know, and I would reach out to people, and, you know, I actually had a good little business going, but then I realized I need all these good people for me. And
exactly.
Checkmate, so I stopped doing it. But yeah, it became a good skill that I learned, was where and how to find these people. And, that, you know, that are going to work really hard and really appreciate what you're doing for them without breaking your bank.
Yes, exactly.
Now, obviously I'm not against hiring US.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
You know, I'm all for our country.
Yeah.
I want us to succeed.
Yeah, just to clear that up. If anyone's wondering.
Clear that up. You know, but you got to find the right people, and you got to be at a certain level to be able to hire people in our country.
Exactly.
Just because of the state of our economy and where we're at. And, you know, 99% of people who start a business can't do that. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I'm sure 99% of the money that you spend goes back into our economy anyways.
It does.
So you're still boosting our economy.
It does. Yeah. And then we, you know, essentially did get to a point where we did hire someone, you know, in the United States, and, you know, it's been great.
Yeah.
So we are hiring there for different positions of essentially where we need people to talk to hosts in a more, you know, relationship type conversational role.
Yeah.
So that's where, you know, we see the need for that. But there's so many opportunities and so many possibilities for people starting businesses now with, like you said, technology and, you know, and labor from all over the world.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to stay on the topic of technology, but shift a little bit because we know each other. I know that you're a big proponent for ChatGPT. So am I. I like to call it Chad GPT. So tell me about, besides like the workers, things like that, tell me about technologies that you're using in your business, such as like ChatGPT or whatever else you're using, and how that's helped you. Just like, I'm sure it's helped your efficiency and proficiency and everything you're doing, just like go way up, kind of like how it has for us too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So before, you know, the big like Chat GPT boom, you know, the AI boom, everything was manual, right? That we did. And it was a lot. And we actually had to have a lot more people on our staff. So once AI kind of came in, we kept everyone that we had, but we didn't need to hire at the rate we were hiring to scale, because with the people we had, we could, you know, essentially fill in the gaps that, you know, we would need when hiring someone new with AI.
Yep.
So there's so many different places in my business, you know, Checkmate Rentals, where AI is used, and it's important. Building listings, for example. So writing really, really good listing descriptions, you know, the amenities, the descriptions of pictures. So we use AI to really help write the initial version of that, and then we go in and edit it, and but it gives us a really good starting point. And it took the process of listing creation from maybe 3-4 days to less than a day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Once we have all the information, we can build a really, really good listing within a day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so that's one part. Technology. Another one is so in short-term rentals, you have a property management system, and with that system, it manages the calendar, the inbox for the messages, all these things, the metrics for the financials. And so we have a system like that.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them out there, but the one we use is called Hospitable, and they integrated AI into their inbox.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's really cool. So when a guest is asking us a question, the AI already understands that property that it's asking a question about. And if they ask, is there, like, what time's checkout or what time's check-in, then, we can actually hit the AI button and it'll write an appropriate message to this guest that's customized to them. And there's some that are even more advanced than that, but it helps speed up our guest communication time. And it's nice, but we do pay for the Pro ChatGPT version, and we use it for a lot of stuff. I actually use it now. I created my own, I don't know what you call it. They have like a bot. Essentially, you can create your own agent.
Gotcha.
And so that's what I did, and I trained it up on all my business information, everything that I know.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll go in and ask it questions, and it gives me the answers really quick instead of me digging around in my own brain.
That's awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I use ChatGPT for everything. Like literally, I'll write up an email. Like it'll seem like a simple email. I'll just throw it in real quick. I'll be like, make this sound better because I feel like I'm not the best at writing out, especially emails. I hate emails. So I'll write something up really fast. Like it's not even polished, not grammatically correct at all. I throw it in ChatGPT, and most of the time it makes it good. But I wanted to say, like, I feel like when AI first was like kind of rolling out, like a lot of people almost saw it as like a cheat code, or people are like, oh, it's going to take like people's jobs, where that's really not true. Like it's a tool for people to use. It's almost like we went from using a screwdriver that you're manually doing, like you said, to now we have AI, which is a power tool, which tie back to your church. You said we do your church. So that was the VBS, what they were talking about, the theme the other day, power tools. A little plug for Oak Grove. But it's like using a power tool. Why would you not use a power tool? Like instead of like manually doing it by hand, it just speeds up and makes everything better for you and for the client as well, because you're getting it up quicker and you're doing it faster. And like there needs to be people like us that are gonna like learn these things and learn these technologies, because like the people that are hiring us, they're hiring us because they don't want to deal with the listing. Like just because there's an easier, more proficient way to do it now, they're still not going to do the listing.
Exactly. And the key thing is not giving up the personalization, that personal touch, which some people will try to do with AI, right? They try to do, I'm going to replace everything with AI and just tell it to write my blog completely, and then they don't even look at it and they just post it. Write this email, write this response, and then they don't proofread or add any human touch, and that's an issue, right? Because it's not perfect. AIs can hallucinate and do all these weird these things, but it's a great starting point to speed up the process, like you said.
100%.
And why not use a power tool if you have one, instead of trying to screw it in manually?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So we use it to the best of our ability, and we just but we're very careful to make sure we're still adding in our personal touch. Because anybody can go in and throw something into AI
100%,
and pop it out, and then people will think they're a genius. But where you can really add value to people is, yes, use AI, but add your personal touch, which no one else can do, to separate you from whoever else, because everybody can have access to AI now.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like even like the consumer, and like people say you're on Instagram, Facebook, I feel like people are going to start catching on So like the Chat GPT response is like, you see the word like essence or delve with like the little stars after it. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, they didn't even refine it. Like you got to use Chat GPT. Like you put in the like the first like prompt for it. But then I always like to say when I'm telling people about it, you got to talk to like a human, and like usually the first answer that pops out isn't like what you want. Like you have to keep refining and say, no, change this, change the sentence, structure, make it longer, make it less than 1,000 words, things like that. So it's like we're talking about a tool. It's like, it's not perfect and it's not doing your job for you. It's just like,
it's work.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's still work.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
You don't have to, write a full 2,000 word essay yourself, but it's a ton of work to ask it the right questions to get it to produce the right answers.
Yeah.
That are good. And, so yeah, there's, the prompt engineering and all this like whole new area of where people are working and getting jobs. It's really important. It's figuring out how to talk to robots.
Yep. I know. Yeah. It's like a whole different thing now. It's crazy. And like, even the other day, even besides like verbiage, things like that, I said, me and Amanda, so my wife Amanda does the business with me, and we were goal planning, and I said, where do we want to be in 5 years? And I said, and let's work backwards from that. And so we came up like with a bunch of different things that were our goals. I won't get into them, but there was a certain number we said we want to get to monthly. So I said, let's reverse engineer it and see what percent every month we have to grow by. Is it 10% every single month up until the 60-month mark or whatever percent it is? So I plugged into ChatGPT, and the math was so off. I literally was so mad. I literally typed in, I literally said, bro, in the ChatGPT prompt. I said, bro, this is so wrong. I said, recalculate. I had to do it literally, I think 4 or 5 times. And then by the 4th or 5th time, it was really close. And then I like put in like a little formula, and then like it came out right. But yeah, it's not like, it's not magic. It's not magic at all.
No, yeah. You got to yell at it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And on the topic of goals, what is the goal? What's the goal of Checkmate Rentals, and what's the goal of like Chad Phillis as an entrepreneur?
Oh, great question.
It's always a tough one when someone hits you with that, because that's like the deep question. It's like, what am I trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So, I think it's changed over time, right? So when I first started Checkmate Rentals, when I knew I wanted to start a business, ever since I graduated college, the goal was financial freedom.
Yep.
And time freedom, right? So being able to spend what I want on what I want, when I want, and essentially having nobody tell me what to do and what I can't do. And, that was the goal. So, but as, I kept getting closer, and I got a lot more time freedom, right? So I'm the owner of my business, and I've hired people to do things for me, and, okay, then you're getting closer to that one, and then the money starts to go up. So now you're getting closer to this, and it's like, okay, well, there's just so many levels to this game,
100%.
right? Like you look at some of these guys on, other podcasts who, they just bought a private jet, or they did this, and, that's not exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care about all that, the flashy stuff, the cars, the, multiple homes. That's not exactly what it'd be nice, sure.
Yeah.
But it's not what I care about. And I think a lot of that changed, when I had my son, Eli, and, it's more about, I think, a legacy now for me. So like a personal, I'm starting with a personal goal, I guess.
Yeah.
It's building something that I can pass down, that, I don't want to get to a certain point and just stop. Right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Because if you have a business goal, I'm going to make $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And then what?
Exactly.
Well, then you're going to have to up the goal and up the goal, or you just stop, which is what some people do. They get to their goal and they stop, and then they, lose their money or whatever.
Yeah.
They feel unfulfilled. So my idea was like, what's something that's meaningful, and, that I can essentially create a legacy for my family, and, pass down to him and any other children I have, and, they can pass down to theirs, and, start something to build generational wealth
Yeah.
down the line. That's something that inspires me. You know, is, you know, providing an inheritance. It says in the Bible, I got to recall the verse, but, you know, a good man provides an inheritance to his son and his son's sons, and,
Yep.
you know, down the line. So that's a personal goal for me, is to provide him and any other kids I have, you know, a really amazing future.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And not to be like the golden spoon or silver spoon, you know, spoiled kid, like actually, you know, continue to work in it, work for it. And there's certain cultures that do that they're really wealthy, very, very wealthy cultures that they have family businesses that have been passed down over time.
Yeah.
And those people, you know, don't have to worry about money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in our culture, it's crazy, you know, that like, oh, well, go spend $200,000 at, you know, some institute, some college, you know, to learn how to do something that's going to pay you $50,000, $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then you still don't own anything. And when you die, you have nothing, and your kids have to do it all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, it's like endless loop.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, why not kind of copy what some of these other, you know, cultures are doing with these generational businesses that keep on going. That's personally what my goal is to just build this up to a level where, you know, they can take it over if they want to. They can take it over and, you know, or sell it and build their own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But as for Checkmate, you know, it plays right into that. You know, I'd like to grow this thing as big as I possibly can. Yeah. Before I was like, oh, it'd be great to have 100. Well, I'm at 100. Yeah. You know, it'd be great to have 200, 500, 1,000. Like, I just want to build this to a point where I'm not sacrificing quality for quantity. Yeah, exactly. So that's the most important thing, is scaling at a proper rate. Yep. Where I'm still able to provide top-notch quality. Yep. But to as many people as I possibly can. Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of companies in every industry, but especially this industry, they can't find the balance. Some of the biggest companies, they started off really good, like we did, right? Yeah. Like Checkmate. But I get so many calls from hosts who, you know, clients that are going from other companies coming to us, because the quality has just dropped off a cliff because they just brought on 1,000 more properties. Or they bought like 5 companies and brought on, you know, 5,000 properties, and then all of a sudden they can't get a hold of somebody, or their property's going downhill and nobody's there to provide that personal care and personal relationship. Yeah. And that's something we never want to give up. So it's striking that balance, but our next goal is 200. Then after that, it'll be 500. And 1,000. Yeah. But yeah, personally, and, you know, personal goal and business goal, you know, I think those two are probably it. Yeah, that's awesome. And to speak on that too, when you were talking about not sacrificing quality for quantity, I think that's super important. That's across the board for anything you're doing. Even like I was thinking about how it relates to me with my business. Like I tell a lot of people like that want to do social media, like the goal isn't just to like go viral, because let's say you start out, you go viral, you get 10 million views on something, you get all these followers, but like you got to maintain that now, because now you have a large audience. It's like you're just starting out, like you have no prior content. So it's like the goal isn't to go viral. It's create like an actual community that believes in you and trusts in you, and like are there like basically as ambassadors for your business. So just kind of relate that to like another industry. And I'm sure like any industry you could look at that and be like, oh yeah, that definitely applies in this scenario. But yeah, I know you'll meet your goals, because I know you personally. So I know you'll definitely shatter those goals probably way sooner than you even think. So thank you, man. Well, I'll tell you what, like really, you know, there's different types of motivation, right? And drive. And I've always been into, you know, figuring out what moves me to do things or to not do things. And, you know, it's before you have children, it's different. Like you can get motivated. Don't get me wrong. I was. But whenever whenever your motivation is depending on is based off of somebody else that you love, that you care for. I think love is the biggest 100%. Motivator. I mean, finding someone that you really care about and, making it the purpose of your business, or if you don't only have a job, your job to do the best you can for providing for that person or helping that person live the best life they can live.
Yeah.
That's the most intense form of motivation and drive.
I agree. 100%.
And it does kick it up a notch.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I 100% agree. As you know, I have a daughter too. She's a year and a half. She's crazy, but I love her so much. And like I said, Amanda does this with me and my wife. And like, I can't imagine not working with my wife. And like you said, when my daughter was born, like the motivation just like 10 times. Like, because now there's something, like you said, legacy, there's something they hand down. There's not only, so the thing about legacy too, I think a lot of people look at legacy and they see the end result. Yeah. But I think especially when it's family legacy, it's not even the end result. Like if I just like hit the lottery and like one day gave Anaya, my daughter, like $10 million, like she'd be like, oh, that was really cool. Like I'm rich. But it's like, that's not like really what the legacy is. The legacy is what your dad did to get to where he is. Like I watched my dad do this. I watched my dad put in the hours. I watched my dad fail, but not like stop because of that. And I think that's like a super important part of legacy that like gets overlooked, especially when it's like not within like family, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's 100% true. And speaking of, dads, like my dad actually, I think helped instill that entrepreneurial spirit in me. He was always in sales, right? Insurance sales. And, he did end up, owning his own business down the line with insurance and insurance agency. But he was like, oh man, if you want to make money, you got to get in sales. You got to learn how to sell. And nothing's further from the truth. Yeah. Like you got to learn how to sell something.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yourself.
Yep.
You got to learn how to sell. And, being a 10-9, starting out in insurance, making no salary, knocking door to door, getting, doing, 50, 100 more cold calls a day.
Yep.
Yeah. Getting people, telling you, F you, get out of here.
Yo, for sure. Yeah.
Kick rocks, leave me alone. You learn how to take rejection. You take your lumps.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing in business, right? So whether you're 1099 sales, whether you are starting your own business, you got to go through the muck.
Yes.
And it makes you tough. There's just no other way around. And people want I was always looking for it, right? The quick, get rich quick type scheme. Exactly. Like, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to be rich in a week. I've had so many friends and people that have came to me with 1,000 business ideas.
Yeah.
And I look at them now and I'm like, all of these could work, but the only one that's going to work is the one that you work.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Like you have to work it. If you work it, it will work. But like people just don't understand that. And you got to develop that mindset. And I think what really helped me was the door-to-door sales jobs and, dealing with that rejection, and having that's a big part of the entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
Overcoming rejection and failure over and over and over again. And, it develops persistence, determination, and all those things. And I know I was going to say this before when we were talking, about our kids. And it was with the industry of self-development. Yeah. Right. So I don't like that term anymore. I used to love it. I used to be all into all the books and everything. Yep. Because it's selfish. Yeah. Self-development. It's selfish. And selfishness is anti-motivation and productivity, in my opinion. Yeah. I agree. Because you'll only do so much for yourself. Most people are inherently lazy. Why? Because they're thinking about themselves or what's pleasurable in the moment. I'm going to lay on the couch and eat a bag of Cheetos and watch Netflix. Yep. Because I'm thinking about myself. Yeah. And what's good for me now. And when, you kind of think of like, self-development as focusing on somebody else.
Yeah.
And what can I do for them?
Exactly.
What can I do for my clients? What can I do for my son, my daughter, my wife, my parents? Then it gets you out of your own head.
Exactly.
And you don't want to sit down and eat Cheetos and watch Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to do what you can to express your love and your gratitude for them.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I think that's been a big mindset shift that I've had. That's really helped, and maybe it could help someone who's listening.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like time freedom, I think we mentioned like time freedom and like financial freedom at some point. And like, I feel like a lot of people, especially like young entrepreneurs, that's why like I want this geared towards them, kind of like shatter some preconceived like concepts or like constructs around it. Like, if you go into business, like you're going to have probably like less time. Like, so like the key is like you're saying, don't be selfish. Like you have to like almost like die to yourself. It's like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, no matter how I feel, not because I have to, because I'm working for someone, but even more importantly, if I don't go do it, it's not going to happen. Exactly. So it's so important. Like you said, the motivation, it's like, yeah, it's good to like work on yourself, things like that. But at the end of the day too, it's dying to your desires and what you want.
Sure. Most people start out in entrepreneurship because of selfish reasons, right? Yep. I hate my job, or I want to, I want to make all this money. I want to drive a Ferrari. I want to do whatever. And, not saying that that's wrong to like start out with, but making that shift, I think, is so important.
Yeah.
From yourself to other people, because that's really what's going to make you grow.
Yeah.
And if someone can start their business from that mindset of like, hey, I'm not doing this for me. I don't care about myself. I'm doing this for whoever else, or because of a purpose or a higher purpose, something in there that's going to motivate you to get through those, tough times, or wake up early, or, stay up late, write that extra email, do the extra call, because thinking about yourself never does.
Yeah. 100%.
You always have that voice in your head. Just you can quit, you're fine. But if you're thinking about someone else, or you're thinking about, your son coming up to you in 20 years and saying, Dad, I'm really proud of you and what you did. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the most motivating thing there is.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And also thinking of, in the future, if they didn't do that.
Yeah.
If they did the opposite, how terrible that would make you feel.
Yeah, exactly. There's no amount of money that could make up for that.
No, no, not at all.
Yeah.
And the money, is a byproduct
exactly
of, what you're doing. So yeah, I think that's just so important, is your source of motivation, where it's coming from.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Chad, you killed it. Thank you for being on this podcast. Chad is like the epitome of the young entrepreneur. Chad, how old are you? I didn't even have
30.
30. Yep. Chad is 30 years old. You can accomplish what Chad has at 30. It's proven. He's literally sitting here in the flesh, and it's real. So you can actually do this. One of the big pillars to this podcast, I don't want it to be, this is how you do this is how you do that, but it's personal experience. And this is like a lot of it was like, this is how I did it. This is how Chad did it. This is how Matt did it. And like, maybe it'll work for you too, kind of thing. Yeah. And I want people, like, there's not a single podcast that's going to change anyone's life. Like, we can describe business to people as much as we can. Like, if you never had a hot dog before, I was like, Chad, this is what a hot dog tastes like, man. It's like, if you never had a hot dog before, it's nothing like it. It's like, I don't even think it's real meat, but it's like, until someone actually tasted themselves, they don't know what the experience is like, no matter how much we describe it to them. So what I want you to do is, like, the ending of this podcast is your best advice of how someone can just become like 1% better today or tomorrow. In your opinion, what's like an actionable step that they can take just to become, like, it's intimidating to be like, oh, I'm here and Chad's here. It's like, what's just like 1%? What's something that can just make someone like 1% better today?
Sure. Yeah. So someone in that position, right, who's trying to learn on how to get started or figure out what to do, it's extremely overwhelming.
Yeah.
I was there before, figuring out what business I wanted to do, all these things. I think I was consuming 5 to 7 hours of like YouTube content. It's probably something like this, of people interviewing back and forth, like, figuring out what to do or how to do it. It's overwhelming. And yes, you can learn from shows and social media and all these things. You can learn really good things. But I'm a big fan of timely learning, right? So don't just learn to learn. Like, learn something that you need in that moment and apply it, and then do the next step. And then you got to learn something else and then apply it, and then you keep going. And if I could go back with me, I would have told myself, okay, like, you're just learning to learn now. The best learning is doing. And what you get with, the reaction to the action, right? So you take the action, you get a reaction, which is the result, and you learn positive, negative. And, that is the feedback loop that needs to start. So, in general, what I would tell you is, if you've been gorging yourself on content, like, you kind of already know what you need to do, or you have an idea of where you want to go, right? And if you don't, then go ahead and watch some content. But most people who are in the spot where I was and where you were have an idea of what they want to do, where they want to go. So shut YouTube off, shut everything off, and write out an action plan of steps. I'm going to do, what's the most baby small step I can take that I can then learn from, and then take another step. And then learn and take another step. And that's what I would do. I'd break it down into the smallest actions. Okay, I'm going to start my LLC. Now, instead of doing hours of research, you can type it into ChatGPT or another AI, and they'll tell you exactly what to do. So I would sit down in front of AI. I would type in, okay, here's my goal. I want to start a business in this. What should I do? Step-by-step process. Make it the smallest steps possible. Tell AI to make it the smallest steps possible, and then do it. And then do one step, take a break. One step, take a break, and just get that momentum. There's nothing like momentum in business, and because it compounds. So I think biggest thing with me was not actually getting started. That's where the most energy and the effort has to be applied, is getting started. It's like when you're lifting weights, man, like, the hardest part is getting it off the rack sometimes.
It's
like true. You get it off the rack. Once you get momentum and stuff's moving, like, it's a lot easier. But, and it starts to flow. So you got to get into that flow. And to get into the flow, you got to take a step.
That's great advice, Chad. And just so you guys know, Chad has a lot more momentum than me on the bench press. He could get a lot more off the rack. So, but thank you so much, Chad. Everything you just said there is like invaluable advice to get started 1% better today. Go to use technology, use all the tools that you have, learn, absorb all that you can, and then start. Make sure you start. So thank you for watching the Yen podcast. I encourage you to share it, because we only grow if you share it to your friends and your family, or someone that you think might benefit from this. It doesn't even have to be someone young, because old people can benefit from this too. They can. Maybe someone has to learn that they can learn something from the young generation too.
Hey, you can start a business at any age.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly. A business, entrepreneurship. It's for every single age.
It is.
So
it is.
Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right.